How drugs are studied. It takes years, and sometimes decades, for a drug to move from the theoretical stage to the pharmacy shelf. Of the thousands of drugs under investigation at any one time, only a small fraction will produce the desired result without unacceptable side effects. First, scientists target a step in the disease process where they believe a drug can have an effect. Then they manufacture compounds or take them from organisms such as viruses and fungi and test them in laboratory cultures. Once scientists isolate a chemical that produces a desired effect, they analyze its structure and alter it as necessary to enhance the outcome. The next step involves testing the drug on animals. Scientists look at how much of the drug is absorbed into the bloodstream, how it spreads to different organs, how quickly it is excreted or leaves the body, and whether it has any toxic byproducts. Researchers usually test at least 2 animal species because the same drug may affect species differently. If a chemical passes laboratory and animal testing and is deemed appropriate to analyze in human volunteers, it is ready for clinical trials. Researchers follow a protocol that describes who may participate in the study, tests and procedures to follow, the length of the study, and outcomes to be measured. Drug trials may focus on treating a disease, preventing a disease from occurring or recurring, or enhancing the quality of life for people living with incurable, chronic conditions. There are 4 phases of clinical trials. The first 3 phases study whether the drug is effective and can be safely administered to patients, and the 4th phase evaluates long-term safety and use once a drug is on the market. Phase 1 clinical trials test a drug in small groups of healthy volunteers to ascertain its safety and the appropriate dose range. These studies last for 6 months to 1 year. Phase 2 clinical trials test several hundred volunteers to determine how effectively the drug combats the disease being studied. These trials continue to evaluate safety, side effects, and optimal dose. Phase 2 studies also last for 6 months to 1 year. Phase 3 trials test thousands of volunteers for several years, with researchers closely monitoring study participants at regular intervals. These studies typically compare the drug under investigation with a control. Either a drug known to cure or alleviate a specific disease, or, if one does not exist, a substance that has no medicinal effects, known as a placebo. Phase 3 trials are typically blind studies. Participants do not know which drug they are receiving, or double-blind studies. Neither participants nor researchers know which drug an individual is receiving until the trial is completed. Once a drug passes the first 3 phases and is found to be safe and effective, drug companies may apply for the right to market the product. After a drug is approved and on the market, Phase 4 trials may investigate longer-term effects in different groups of patients such as the elderly, or use of the medication for a different condition such as using a cancer drug to treat AIDS.